All right, so let me say welcome, welcome, welcome to those of you who are watching us online. We are very grateful that you have joined this loving, warm, spiritual community. We are here to have new ways of perceiving things and open our minds to thoughts that we did not have before, and to learn new information that give us ways of perceiving that are new, so that we can be more loving and tolerant and compassionate towards each other. So thank you so much for joining us. Please like this if you like this video, and share it if you think that there's anybody that could benefit from us. And so the name of today's talk is Promises of Buddhism. The song was Try a Little Kindness by Glenn Campbell. We will be talking about 10 Buddhist principles to cultivate inner peace. We will be talking about the promises fulfilled if you follow the teachings of Buddhism, just like we talked about all of the biblical promises and the results that you get if you follow all of those promises. We will be talking about just a very, very stamp-sized version about what the main Buddhist texts are, because as you know, we pulled all of our 7,000 promises for Christianity from the Bible, but there are other faith-based texts that are just as important, so we will be studying those as well. We will be having quotes from the Pitaka, which are the teachings of Buddha. So today we have moved on to Buddhism and the principles it teaches. Just as there are promises in the Bible about the rewards of right behavior, there are principles in the teachings of the Buddha on how to live lives of integrity and the rewards of following the path. We will concentrate today on thoughts and behaviors that reflect compassion, loving kindness, honesty, integrity, discipline, and the rewards are a sense of calm, peace, and acceptance, and the ability to live in the present without resistance, the ability to live in gratitude, focusing on what we have and what is right in our lives rather than what we lack or what is wrong. So just a stamp size version. I just want to talk a little bit about the Buddhist texts, what they are, because each faith has their own sacred texts that they pull from. So in the same way that the Bible teaches the principles of Christianity and the words of Jesus, the Buddhist texts explain the principles and the words of Buddha. So there are three different traditions, and each has their own texts. Theravada Buddhism has the Tripitaka. So a lot of this I've talked about in my talks on Buddhism before. I will link those when I send the talk out. The Tripitaka is also known as the Pali Canon. The Vinaya Pitaka is the rules for monks and nuns. The Sutta Pitaka is the discourses of the Buddha. The Abhidhamma Pitaka is the philosophical and psychological analysis. So the Mahayana Buddhism has 5 different sutras. The Lotus Sutra is the one on universal enlightenment. The Heart Sutra is the text that is on emptiness. The Diamond Sutra is the text on impermanence and wisdom. The Lankavatara Sutra is what talks about Zen Buddhism. And the Pure Land Sutra is Buddhism's Pure Land discussion. So the Vajrayana Buddhism is the Tibetan form of Buddhism, and they have 3 books, the Kangyur, which is the teachings of the Buddha, the Tengyur, which is the writings of the Buddhist masters, and the Bardo Thodol, which is the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So today we're going to be focusing on Theravada Buddhism, so the Tripitaka. I will be pulling from the Pali Canon. So the benefits of being a Buddhist, just like we talked about the promises that you get in Christianity, there are promises that come if you follow the path of Buddhism. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about them. The first is inner peace and mental clarity. Meditation and mindfulness practices calm the mind and reduce stress. Letting go of attachment and desire leads to greater contentment. Number 2, emotional resilience. These are the teachings on impermanence, give you the ability to accept loss and change. Cultivating compassion and loving kindness leads to improved relationships and a sense of connectedness. Number 3, ethical living. Following the 5 precepts encourages moral and peaceful life. Buddhism teaches kindness, honesty, and non-violence. Number 4, reduced suffering, understanding the 4 noble truths. So again, I've talked about them in great detail, just as stamp-sized versions, the 4 noble truths. The first is the dukkha, which talks about the innate characteristics of the transient existence that we have here, that nothing is forever. The samudaya, which is the craving for an attachment to the transient that we have. The nirada, which is about being able to contain the letting go of that craving. and the Manga, which is the Noble Eightfold Path, which leads to the release of the desire for attachment and the end of suffering. So if you understand those Four Noble Truths, you will have help in addressing the suffering, the practice of detachment, and it will reduce pain and disappointment. Number 5 is improved relationships. Compassion and patience give us healthier personal and social connections. We will have less attachment and be less ego-driven. Number 6 is mindfulness and present living. It helps us to appreciate the present moment fully. It reduces anxiety about the future and regrets about the past. Number 7 is simplicity and minimalism. Buddhism encourages a balanced lifestyle and avoiding extremes, of focusing on our needs rather than our wants. It leads to financial and emotional freedom. Number 8 is spiritual growth and wisdom. Learning, meditation, and self-reflection encourage non-materialistic focus on life. The Eightfold Path is our guide for personal and spiritual development. Number 9 is the reduced fear of death. Teachings on rebirth and karma offer different perspectives on mortality. Letting go of our ego lessens our fear of dying. And number 10 is community and support. Again, these are the 10 benefits that you get from following the path. The Sangha, which we've talked about before, is the spiritual community. It gives a sense of belonging and encouragement. Practicing the principles in community reinforces mindfulness and ethical conduct. So we're going to move on to quotes from the Tripitaka. This is the Sutta Pitaka, the teachings of Buddha. So I pulled 9 of them that I thought would be helpful for us. So the quotes from the Tripitaka. Number 1, one truly is the protector of oneself. Who else could the protector be? With oneself fully controlled, one gains a mastery that is hard to gain. Number 2, the good shine from afar like the Himalaya mountains, but the wicked are unseen like arrows that are in the night. Number 3, he is not noble who injures living beings. He is called noble because he is harmless towards all living beings. Number 4, have compassion for all beings, rich and poor alike. Each has their suffering. Some suffer too much and others suffer too little. Number 5, do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. Number 6, if anything is worth doing, do it with all your heart. Number 7, every morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. Number 8, you will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. We'll be talking quite a bit about that. Number 9, if a man can control his mind, he can find the way to enlightenment, and all wisdom and virtue will naturally come to him. Okay, so we're talking about now the 10 Buddhist principles to cultivate inner peace. First, we have to understand that the ultimate priority is peace, to be unaffected by the challenges or the struggles that are going on around you, to be able to stay centered, flexible, secure in the knowledge that all is unfolding as it should. Buddhism teaches peace comes from within. Don't seek it from outside yourself. So, number 1, don't react to insult or offense. They only have power if you give them power. So he talks about the fact that if you throw a rock in the pond, the water will have ripples, but the ripples will eventually settle down and get back into stillness. When someone says something hurtful, you can disturb our peace temporarily, but we need to return to a calm state. The Buddha said, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. That's where that quote comes from. Other words are reflection of their own state. We can see with compassion instead of letting their negativity affect us, and we can maintain inner peace. So again, we need to understand that when others are mean to us, it's from they're coming from their own place of hurt, and it is not a reflection of who we are. It is a reflection of who they are. Number 2, transform everyone into a teacher. Everyone we meet, whether friendly or not, has something to teach us. Buddha taught, when watching after yourself, you watch after others. When watching after others, you watch after yourself. Turn the negative experiences into opportunities for growth. When someone is unkind, learn patience and compassion. Number 3, transform envy into emulation. When we see someone succeeding or possessing qualities that we admire, we can choose to be inspired. The Buddha said, "Do not be envious of others' good qualities, but out of admiration, adopt them yourself." This helps us to stay positive and focused on our own growth. Number 4, be strict with yourself, but tolerant of others. Strive for personal excellence without being harsh or judgmental of others. Stay focused on our own growth. You will become more disciplined and you will develop a stronger sense of self-respect. Being tolerant of others helps us cultivate empathy and understanding, recognizing that everyone is on their own journey. By practicing self-discipline and tolerance, we remain calm and composed. Number 5, no one can hurt you without your consent. While others' actions can be hurtful, our reaction to them is within our control. Buddha said, "No one saves us but ourselves. No one can, and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path." Develop a strong sense of self and inner peace. Become resilient to external harms. Cultivate inner strength to withstand life's challenges. Take responsibility for your own well-being instead of blaming others for your pain. Focus on building inner resilience. Meditation, mindfulness, and self-reflection strengthen our sense of self so that we can live more serene and empowered lives. Number 6, the power of acceptance. Embracing things as they are without resistance or judgment. The Buddha taught, accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. Free ourselves from trying to change things that are beyond our control. Save our energy for positive actions rather than wasting it on resistance. Practicing acceptance fosters compassion and understanding. By embracing the present moment and letting go of resistance, we minimize our suffering, maintain a state of calm and contentment. Number 7, living in harmony with nature and its cycles, we recognize the interconnectedness of all life seasons. There are cycles of growth, decay, and renewal. Change is a natural part of life. The importance of spending time outdoors will help us to understand how much we are connected to each other. Eating whole foods and practicing mindfulness will also keep you centered. Living in harmony with nature means respecting and protecting the environment. Stewardship of the planet is critical. Contribute to the well-being of all living beings. Number 8, focus on ethical living. The Buddha taught, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. See, we thought that was all new thought, but this all goes way, way, way back. Buddhism teaches that the building life is based on the principles such as honesty, compassion, and respect for all living beings. It starts with a belief that our actions, words, and thoughts have consequences. The law of karma. Our deeds create ripples that return to us in some form. Focus on right actions and moral behavior to build a foundation of integrity. We must be truthful in our words, kind in our actions, fair in our dealing with others to create positive karma. The more peaceful and harmonious life we have, the stronger and more meaningful our relationships will be. Respecting all living things reinforces our connection to the world. Ethical living encourages us to think before we act, making sure our actions align with our values, and makes us cultivate a sense of responsibility and mindfulness. It helps us create a life of integrity, peace, and harmony, so that we can grow in wisdom and compassion and be a source of inspiration and support for others. Ethical living is also about embodying the values that define who we are and how we interact with the world, living with integrity, compassion, and respect. Number 9, practice gratitude. Instead of focusing on what we lack or what is going wrong, we must shift our attention to what we already have, find the positive aspects in every situation. This acts as a shield against negativity and stress and helps us develop a resilient nature. Cultivate gratitude through mindful observation of our surrounding and the people in our lives. Stay present and appreciate the richness of our experiences. Gratitude can be expressed through acts of kindness to others. Spreading kindness shows our appreciation of what we have and spreads that to all around us. Number 10, trust the process and let go of control. It is a core Buddhist principle. The Buddha taught the root of suffering is attachment. A desire to cling to certain outcomes, people, or things often leads to our own suffering. When you become attached to expectation, it sets us up for disappointment and stress. Surrender to the flow allows things to unfold naturally. Having faith that things will work out as they are meant to, and stop resisting and start accepting, we find a sense of peace and calm. Accepting people as they are without trying to change them encourages harmony and mutual respect. Trusting the process is also about being present. When we focus only on the future, we miss out on the present. Let go of the need to control the future so that we can fully experience the here and now. So here's what I know. We need loving kindness now more than we ever have before. We are going through some incredibly difficult times right now. The US is going through a period where we see hatred and violence and division everywhere we look. Families and friends are being turned against each other. There are people that I know who are not speaking to their family members because of division that has happened recently, because of what is going on. I'm not going to talk about politics, but because of what is going on, there are families that have been torn apart and they're not speaking to each other. There are people on Facebook that unfriend each other because of people stating their point of view and they don't agree with their point of view, so they unfriend them. We've come to a place where people are being judgmental and hurtful, and causing harm to families by cutting each other off because of their beliefs. We need to make sure that we are living lives that are not in alignment with policies that don't go along with our belief systems. So we need to make sure that if somebody says something that we don't agree with, our lives are based on being integrated with the truth. And the truth says, you are you and I am I, and we are interconnected, but you don't have to believe everything that I believe, and I don't have to believe everything you believe. And our lives are such that we want to treat each other with respect and dignity, no matter what belief they have. So when someone says something hurtful, you can be upset temporarily, but return to the place of peace. We can't change them and their reality. Our words are more a reflection of their own state. We need to use compassion. We can say things like, I don't understand your point of view, and we can agree to disagree. I think the most horrible thing that I'm seeing around me is where people get whiff of one piece of information from somebody and they close the whole person off because of one statement that they made. And it's really important that people are still people and you understand that we can't just cut people off because of some beliefs that they have. We have to be able to understand that everyone has a right to have their own beliefs and we have to treat them with respect. We have to transform everyone into a teacher. That's one of the things that Buddhism teaches. So often other people are a mirror of ourselves. So when people say things that really goes against our sense of being and it really hurts us, we need to look at why it is hurting us so much. Have they touched on some core belief of ours? Have they said something that we need to look at? Is there something that we need to change? Because people are often a mirror for us. And when they say something that makes us all upset, we need to really ask ourselves, why is it that we're getting so upset? We need to cultivate empathy and understanding. Everyone is on their own journey. By practicing self-discipline and tolerance, we can remain calm. When you try to change people's mind and convince them that they are wrong, we only hurt ourselves. We are setting ourselves up for disappointment when they don't change the way we want them to. So I was in a relationship for 12 years, and I kept thinking if I said the right words or if I did the right thing, he would change. For 12 years, I kept thinking I could make him change because what he was doing was morally wrong. I had the upper hand because I was right and he was wrong and he was being immoral in his choices. And I really genuinely thought if I used the right words, I could make him see that he needed to change. I set myself up for disappointment endlessly. It took 12 years to understand that he was never going to change. He was who he was. His behavior was based on his belief system, that it was okay to act the way that he did. It was not in alignment with my belief system, but the proper thing to do would have said, I can't live with you behaving this way, as opposed to trying to change him. When you're trying to change someone else, you're only causing yourself more harm. Practicing acceptance means accepting without trying to change and not living in this resistance to reality. It is the resistance that is causing us the suffering. We must take responsibility for our own well-being instead of blaming others for our pain and suffering. Loving kindness means allowing others to be who they are, have their own viewpoints, believe a truth which is theirs, even if it is totally contradicts what we believe. I believe one of the reasons we are suffering so much is that we want others to change. We believe what we believe. We see things in black or white, good or bad, right or wrong, without trying to allow others to be who they are. So there is a couple that I've been following on YouTube for 4 years. I've loved them so much for 4 years. They are a couple that built a house, a cabin in the woods, and he is just an incredible photographer. And not only the photography is gorgeous, so it's their story of building this house together, but it's also just it's all about nature, and it's just phenomenally beautiful scenery. And he mixes it with gorgeous music. So it's very relaxing for me. It's very calming for me. I really, really love it. And for 4 years, I've been watching these videos and I've loved his videos. I've watched them every single week. They've gotten me through some very hard times. You all know about my Milton. When my Milton passed, I sat there watching over and over again all of these different videos because they were so beautiful and they were so calming, and the music was so gorgeous, and their interaction with each other was so lovely to watch. And so there were the sounds of nature, there was gorgeous music, and I followed the couple's journey. But then recently I saw on the news that he had attended a political rally. And I watched the clip 20 times. Is that really him? Is that really him? Is that really him? And for sure it was. There was a very big close up that it was. So it was this young man that I had been watching for 4 years that I had really, really cared about. And now I saw him in this political rally, and I knew it was him. And it was on the other side of the politics of where I am. And all of a sudden, I couldn't watch his videos anymore. And I thought, what's going on here? Like, I've loved this for 4 years. It's been what I looked forward to. And so with a lot of prayer and introspection, I realize his videos are still gorgeous. The music is still gorgeous. His stories are still gorgeous and inspiring. I had come to believe that I didn't want to write him off because we were of different beliefs politically. But I had gotten to this place where it was like an automatic response. As soon as I saw the picture of him at this rally, I'm like, I'm done. I never want to see him again. I never want to. And I've found that with other people, this is happening over and over and over again. He didn't even say any words. I just saw a picture of him at this particular rally, and it upset me so much that I totally wanted to cut him off. Now, this isn't the same as cutting off family. There are people that have cut off their family, which is even harder to take. But I had to really understand that you can't write off a whole person because of something that you see like that, and that he still had so much to offer that was valuable and inspiring. And so I had to go through a lot of prayer and a lot of asking for help for a new way to view this. But what I understand is throughout the country this is happening. People see a symbol of a belief that is contrary to what they believe, and they cut them off. They unfriend them, they stop speaking to them, they take them out of their lives. I think we can learn a lot from Buddhism. We don't need to change them or cut them out of our lives. We can accept that we don't understand how they could have the beliefs that they have. They don't make sense to us, but we don't have to reject them as a person. We need to find a way during this painfully difficult time of division to find some common ground and to remember they are people who are just like us, human, filled with good and bad. We need to find a way to show loving kindness when we disagree. Hatred causes suffering to us and to them. Let's try to live more in line with the principles taught in Buddhism, to have lives of compassion and loving kindness, honesty, and integrity, so we can have the rewards, a sense of calm, peace, and acceptance, and the ability to live in the present without resistance to experience the promises of Buddhism. And so it is. Remember at all times, the power is in you. It always has been, and it always will be. All right, let me turn this off.